Hi Copic friends, Michelle Houghton here. I've got a little no line coloring tutorial for you today. We are doing this cute little pig, which is the May add-on stamp over at Kraftin Kimmie this month. You might see two videos from me for this month from Kraftin Kimmie. We'll make sure we're hitting some techniques as we do those stamps, trying to use my time wisely. Anyways, this little piggy is the free add-on stamp when you buy a minimum purchase at Kraftin Kimmie this month of May. This is one that actually the image I designed, and it is this cute little flying pig. I have stamped it in one of the light pink inks from Kraftin Kimmie, and I am going to do the pig in one of my favorite ways to color a pig, which is kind of the splotched, where it's got the big brown spots and it's kind of mostly a white pig. We'll see how well that disappears all of those pink lines. It may or may not, but we're going to give it a go. So I'm going to use some warm grays for the white area. And then I'm also going to use some earth tones for the splotches, those kind of big bold things. And I'm actually going to use one blue violet on the wings to kind of give it a little iridescent. Obviously a pig flying with little fairy wings, not so realistic, so we can kind of play with this. But the colors I'm using on the pig could actually be used on a little more realistic pig if you wanted. It's a combo that I have used in the past and enjoy using. So let's do this first so I don't forget, because I was just about to. We've got some details that we don't want to lose. So I'm going to use a multi-liner. In this case, I'm using a 0.3 Copic multi-liner. Now, if you don't have Copic multi-liners and you don't know if your little sketch pen is compatible with Copic, you may need to do this at the very end. I like to do it at the beginning so I don't lose the details that I know I want to have black, but you may have to do it at the end if your pen is not Copic compatible. To test that, you have to kind of test the Copic ink over it. I have videos about how to do that if you're interested, but I know the pupils on the eyes, the little nostrils, and I'm going to go ahead, I'm debating if I do the smile or not, because I can put the smile in just with color. I'm thinking maybe not though, because I'm worried about losing it, especially with how I'm doing the coloring. So we'll go ahead and put the smile in too. All right, so let's turn this just a little bit, because that's the edge of the nose that's blocking the rest of that eye. And this is one of those cases where I can't see the detail really clear, but if I have the stamp sitting right now next to me, I can see that the snout comes out and kind of cuts off the bottom of that eye, and that's why that pupil is so much smaller. All right, so I'm going to actually start with an E93, which is that tea rose color, and I'm going to go to the interior of the little guy's ears and do this really quick because this is a really limited area. Now, when you do no line coloring, you're literally going over those lines. Our goal is to make those lines disappear. Switching over to my colorless blender, so that when you're done, you actually don't see the lines. You see one color bumping up against the next color so that those pink lines disappear. So when you're doing no line coloring, you actually have to stamp in a light pink, a light gray, a light sepia, kind of brown earthy tone. I'm also going to do his little snout. Now I'm hoping I left this long enough. Even with a Copic compatible ink, if you don't leave that ink alone long enough and you come and color over it with your alcohol-based marker, your Copics, you will smear that ink. So give it some time, heat set it. Either one will work. But it looks like I left it just long enough. So on this image, where I'm going to struggle is if I do some of my darker colors right in these areas, like he's got his two front legs and the chin area and neck. If I do all of that with a darker color, I'm going to lose those little interior lines pretty fast, and I won't see where one starts and the other stops. So I might need to do this in sections. So let's kind of purposefully, and a lot of times when I color no line, I will specifically go in and color the darkest color first. But let's make a plan for where our little spots are going to go first. I'm going to have one big one that comes across and up the middle of this little guy's face. So it's going to affect that ear. This is my lighter color that's going to be for the splotches. It's the E04 Lipstick Natural. Definitely going to do his little bum. And then I'm thinking we need at least one leg, or maybe two. If I do just one of these front legs and one back leg, then I'm going to basically eliminate the need to do section by section. I could just do all of the shading at once because I'm not going to lose those interior lines. So maybe that's a good plan. Let's do some of his tummy and come down and hit that front leg that's nearest the viewer, nearest me. And I'm going to leave it just like this. Now it'll go across the belly too, but I'm going to come in, remember, with my darker color here in just a minute, and I'll show where that line happens. And then I think let's do this part, and we'll decide if we want to do a back leg as well. That might be good right there. Okay. So the darker of my two colors for my spots is the E09, which is burnt sienna. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to find where are those darker areas going to be. So now I have to think not about the shape of the spot, but the shape of the pig and where I'm shading. So the head, we want to turn it into a round circle, kind of spherical shape. Now here's the tricky part about no line coloring. Those black lines that you stamp with hide a multitude of small mistakes. And when we start using a no line coloring technique, we lose that, the shaky edges and the unclear lines. We lose that because suddenly we can see exactly where we're touching down with that marker. So when you have a tip that's a little bit soft or kind of wiggles out of a line, we don't have any way to hide it with that black line. A lot of times we don't see that happening because of a black line, but suddenly now it's kind of all hanging out there. So give yourself some grace. It does take some practice like anything else. We know that the underside of the pig is going to get darker. The top of the legs might catch light, but his back will, but his underside will be pretty dark. So most of this bottom splotch will be dark. His rump, again, his body's kind of a big round sphere or elongated one. So I'm trying to remember that I'm coming from the edge of the pig inward versus from like the bottom of the spot. It's the overall shape. And I've given myself a bit of a challenge by shading it this way. Because that tail is right off the rump, I'm going to go ahead and use my darker color on this as well. Thinking about, again, the shape and if he's kind of being lit from right above. All right, I think that will work. And then we're going to grab that lighter color again, the E04. Let's get you guys a little closer, sorry. And we'll start on the E09. Slow down, Michelle, as you approach that eyeball. But even with my lighter color, this E04 actually covers those pink lines pretty efficiently. And remember, you can come back and take that E09 further. So you can bring that darken further if you want. So far, however, this is looking pretty good. But I start on the E09 to kind of re-wet that edge and then pull it into that white area. The longer an area has sat, the drier the ink, so it might take a little more oomph on my part, a little more working to get it to blend nicely. Okay. Obviously this edge out on that left side doesn't matter so much because that's a line I drew in. This top edge of this leg is more important, trying to keep that as close as I can to where the image is so I don't lose the other pieces of the pig, the other front leg. Let's turn this so we can see the wing. I don't know if you can see it. I'm having a little bit of a hard time, as always, with focusing my eyes, but I've got a little bit of a funny crooked tip on this particular marker. So my recent round of cleaning and refilling as I pull markers aside as I realize they need some love. I'm also looking at the nibs pretty closely. I've had these markers for a long time. I've been coloring and teaching Copic for, oh my gosh, close to 15 years now. Yeah, close to 15. So the markers, some of my originals, I've had that long. And I don't necessarily change out the nibs very often. You don't just grab new nibs all the time. So, but I'm trying to be real cognizant of the ones that are tired. They're a little bit smushy. They don't have quite as much spring. Or like this one, they've got this little bit of a soft tip to it. And so then it's hard to control, especially with something like no line coloring coming in and trying to get that detail. So as I clean them this round and refill as they're needed, I'm trying to also pay attention to which ones need a little bit of love. Now, two options. I had that little line that's kind of showing, I can show you on the stamp, kind of coming in and showing where that leg comes up onto the body. I could grab the E09 again and try to come right up under that and see if I can darken that. I could also do this with a blue violet. It would take a really dark one, like a BV29 or probably. But this looks like it might do it. Yep, I can now see kind of that separation of the leg and the body. We'll see if that dries as darkly. Just make sure that's going to get what we need it to get. All right. Then for the rest of the pig, the rest of the story, I'm going to do some, not that, W3, W1, and Copic colorless blender. So let's start with the W3 because that's our darkest again. And come in and kind of pretty small because I do want them to actually appear white. This back leg though will get mostly dark, and we might have to go one darker on that one. Now see this, I can barely see, and I don't know if you'll see it on the video when I kind of edit it. I can barely see where that pink line is. So I think I'm going to be safe to come back in with a darker color and finish some of these little areas off so I don't lose. Let's see, probably under the chin. And this is the challenge. Like I do want the face to feel more forward, so I might wait and see if I can do that just with the W1. Little back in, shading in. Let's make sure we get the ear. Tiny bit right up under his little snout. We'll go lighter. Okay, let's see what we've got. If then we grab the W1. Grays in general tend to blend really easily. So it takes very minimal effort to get these guys to blend together. And kind of pull that out. Again, it's the whole shape. So my highlight I'm aiming for on the body is kind of this big round central highlight. And I think I've kind of just about got us there. There we go. And then I do know I'm going to need, though, to do a little bit from the bottom edge of the chin. Here. All right. Let's see if I come back. Let's do this first. Colorless blender right at that edge. Fade that to white. Fading to white, fading to white, fading to white. Oh, I definitely need over there too. So let's come back to that in a second. So we've got right here. This guy's got to go darker. So this is the W3 again, but this is going to separate, right? The face, the neck, and there. We've kind of lost a little bit of this under the chin. So let's see if we can do that without. Some of this is really fine tuning. So you just go nice and slow back and forth my W1 and my W3 to try to keep that line, not lose the pieces. The other option for like this back leg, and I can do this on both, or the legs that are away from the viewer, is to come in with one shade darker. This is a W5, and that might work better. And right into that little crease there. Hit that. And on this one, let's bring that W3 over. There we go. But that actually makes a difference here. I think that I like better. W1. So play around, get it where you want it. Not totally happy with that area under the chin, but that might be kind of where I get to with this one. All right, let's let that sit. We've pushed a lot in there. What I was noticing is I've got, and I'll show you on the stamp again. So top of the snout comes across, and then that eye, that's not reading that way yet. So let's go with the W3 and let's see, right here and up, and right here and up. And instead of trying to squeeze in the W1, I'm going to just touch those corners with the colorless blender, and let's see if we can get, there we go. There we go. So it's not necessarily as light as I would like it back there, but it definitely pushes it back, and that was the goal. But right now I'm actually getting a pretty good read on all these pieces. Let's do this one little touch right here. Perfect. Stop. Stopping there, right where I want it. Okay, let's get close to this little guy so you can see all those little pieces. Wings, little, what do you call those when they have little hooves? Is it hooves on a pig? I don't know. His feet, his hooves, whatever they're called. Let's get those guys and his little wings. We'll do the wings. I am using a BV20, which is the dull lavender. Yes, I come back to this often. Hitting those kind of an edge. My goal is to make this look kind of iridescent. And the fun part, as you know, if you follow me at all about a BV20, is it kind of shatters or breaks apart when you hit it with the colorless blender. Let's do those two. And you end up with kind of a blue into violet appearance, which to me gives it, and we could even make them sparkle with a little bit of a glitter over the top, and maybe that in this case this little pig would be fun. And get that back one. So the reason I just did the front two wings first, it's really easier in this case for this color to fade it to white if you do it while it's wet. This one will stick pretty hard to that paper and make it really difficult to get it to fade. See how we got this almost true fade to white on that area? But if I wait, or if I do a bunch of areas and then come back to it and that ink is dry, it is really hard to shift that and to get that fade. So really light touch, not a lot of ink, and then kind of hit it right away. You're gonna have much better luck. Okay, he has got 4 little feet. I'm gonna try with a W7 and a W5 on these. Bottom edge coming up. This back one, because we're just seeing that little corner, can just go ahead and get filled in. Then this one will go, I'm gonna have to be really careful. Most of my W's and C's, because I use them so frequently, have gotten really soft. So as I hit into these little corners, I'm gonna have to be really careful. And then bottom edge, that piece as well. Bottom edge up. That got a little wide. Let's grab this W5. Probably should start on where I started so it blends more easily, but I don't think, especially with a gray, I'm not as concerned. I know these will blend. Now this one is hard to see, so I'm going to pull this over so you guys can see it. We do have kind of both little prongs here on the, so we need to go over to here. Might need to adjust that one just a little here. Let's get these though. Front ones. Back and forth, it's the dance. All right. Sorry, not chatty today. I'm not sure why. Focusing. All right. Small pig. I'm liking him. He's quite cute. He makes me smile. That was the goal. All right. He's obviously flying. He's up in the air. So I'm going to grab, this is a BG, but it's a quadruple zero instead of a triple zero because my triple zero is desperately needing a refill. But let's go in. We'll hope this one is ready to go. It may need a little love too, but we'll see if we can get. Now, so there's going to be a couple areas where you can see the pink line, but it's pretty minimal. One is right along his back. Now, how could I correct that? I could come in with the darker color and take that darker color a minuscule amount. It's 1/8 of an inch further. The other place, a little bit harder to correct, is the interior of the ears because I've left it white at the top. That pink line on this edge is completely visible. Now, if you truly want to make it disappear, you've got a couple options there. You could go ahead and fill the ear with that E93 that I used. It will fill that up. I'm thinking I need a couple clouds in here just to add a little interest. And so that I don't have to color this entire area. Gotta love a cloud. I like putting clouds in, I've decided, because it lets me cheat. It lets me break up. Cheater! It lets me break up the sky area and not worry so much about getting it all completely smooth. And isn't that nice to take off your plate? Got enough on our plates these days, everybody. Make your coloring fun. Find ways to make it easier and more delightful for you in the process. Coloring should feel good. If it doesn't, it's okay to say this is not your thing. It really is. I enjoy coloring. I actually wish I had more time just to color. It's just not where I'm at right now in my life, and that is okay. Right now, my coloring is involved in sharing stuff with all of you. And we'll see if I can get back to doing more classes and stuff down the road. I will make that happen. Put one more cloud in, bottom corner. The corners have clouds. It works. I'm going pretty low on this bottom edge just so I catch those back feet. I had stamped 2 of these guys on kind of that 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. So it definitely kind of tightens up. There we go. And I will trim that down. So here's my little pig. He's all no line colored. I'll get him on a card and include that in the video. Thank you so much for joining me. If you've got questions about classes that I do have available or information about Copic in general, put those comments in the questions and I will get back to you, or get just down below the video. I'll get back to you as soon as I can, or check out my blog at www.scrapweaver.com. Thanks, everybody. Hope everyone has a happy, colorful day.